Have you figured out your niche? Are you helping adding value to other people's lives? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to Munira's Musings with your host, co-author of Conversations with Top Real Estate Investors Volume 3, Munira Zahabi.
Munira's Musings. Our guest here is Parul Banka all the way from UK. Thank you, Parul.
Hello. Hi, Munira. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. It's a beautiful day in UK, I see.
It is. It is. It's a beautiful day, and that is why I decided that I would sit here in the conservatory and not in my study.
That's awesome. Now, what do I do? And you can watch anything you want, but thank you so much for joining us. What I do is I'm the niche navigator. I help coaches and entrepreneurs find their niche and then markets to it. That is important. However, once you've found your niche, there's other components in the business that you have to look at. You're in for a treat because Parul is a storytelling coach, and she's going to tell us what she does and how she does it. So stay tuned in and enjoy the show. Thank you, Parul. I am honored and humbled to have you.
Thank you, Munira.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Parul Banka. I am originally from India, but for the last 8 years, I've been living in the UK. I absolutely love living here. I am a storytelling coach, and I am passionate about what I do. I'm looking forward to sharing some of my trade secrets with you on the show today.
That's awesome. So storytelling coach.
Yes.
How did you find your niche?
Okay. How did I get into storytelling? Well, I think I was inducted into storytelling without even knowing that I was actually being inducted. Many, many years ago, when I was a little girl, my grandmom used to tell us stories. And honestly, if I look back at the past 35 years of my life that I remember, I would say she was the best storyteller I have known. So I was inducted early on. And if there is one thing that I remember from my childhood, that is those amazing stories. That is the power of story, the connection, the remembrance. So that is when I got inducted into storytelling on the other side, because there was someone else who was the storyteller. But I do have a bit of story as to how I found myself into the role of a coach and a storytelling coach.
We call that navigating to your niche, right?
Yes, exactly. So what really happened was until 6 years ago, I lived a very normal life. Now, with the benefit of hindsight, because hindsight is a lovely thing, I can see that I was literally almost living on an autopilot. The life was great. It was beautiful. I enjoyed. I worked as a talent manager, which is a specialization in human resources. I worked as an employee.
Okay.
I spent time with my family. I spent time on my hobbies, and that was that. And then 6 years ago, in the week of my 34th birthday, I was diagnosed with the most aggressive kind of breast cancer.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry.
Thank you. And so I did what I had to do to get through cancer, and I went through the entire drill of cancer treatment. And I'm very, very grateful to be here, because I don't take it for granted. I know that there are lots of people who don't get this second chance at life. But during that long treatment for the first 6 months, I really didn't know if I would really make it to the other side. And in those 6 months, literally almost every day, I made a promise to myself. And my promise to myself was, if I ever get out of cancer, if I ever make it to the other side, I would do everything in my power to live as meaningfully and as fully as I possibly can. And so I was, as I said, one of those fortunate people who survived cancer, and I'm here today. And so after I finished the treatment, I decided to start living consciously and not really live the rest of my life, whatever it is, however long it is, on an autopilot. Living consciously was the promise I had made to myself, and bringing in change in what I did was a part of it. Now, I had always done coaching, but and I really enjoyed it, but it was more in the space of career coaching because I worked in talent management in the corporate world. And I had always been into storytelling and public speaking. And both these things really, really made my heart sing. And so I decided to harness my strengths as a coach and a storyteller, and I became a storytelling coach.
That's awesome, right? It took a moment. So how long was the journey from, when you realized that, you wanted to get out of the corporate world and you got yourself better, of course, and then, finding this niche? How long did that take you?
It took me a while because I wasn't really sure how I wanted to do it, what I wanted to do. Because you see, having a dream and saying, I'm going to start living differently is one thing, and creating that life is a different thing. And so and this is where the story bit comes in, and I'll be very happy to share my story, how my story came into the picture and the whole entrepreneurship worked out for me. You see, I was somebody who was brought up and who lived on the concept of, I am going to be an employee. That was my story. After I survived cancer and I said, I'm going to do coaching, I'm going to set up a coaching practice, I'm going to help people, I want to contribute to make this world a better place. I took a while to navigate to the niche because I was still stuck in my old story in my head, which was, I am an employee and not an entrepreneur. So the first work that I had to do was not on finding my niche from a business perspective, but the first set of work that I had to do was on myself, wherein I rewired my own internal story from I'm not an entrepreneur to I'm an entrepreneur. And so when I say that I'm a storytelling coach, I work on two dimensions. First is the story that we all understand from a very speaking perspective.
Yeah.
Sharing a concept in the form of a story and not just facts and data thrown at the audience. But there is also an inner story that you and I and every single person in this world subscribes to. Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you can't, you are right. And whether you think you can, that's a story. If you think you can't, that is also a story. Both these stories are completely valid. So as a storytelling coach, I first help people go within and work on their internal stories. And on the basis of that transformation, then I help them work on an external story that they can present and use in their business.
Oh, that's a very good concept. I really like it. And you kind of use the same strategies, but using the stories, right? I mean, there's countless of coaches out there. We see them, we hear them, we are around them all the time.
Yes.
And, it's a very, to me, it's a very amazing thing because I'm always curious about how did they find their niche?
Yes.
Mine is a different story as well, but it took me 2 years to figure this out.
Yeah, I would say I took about the same time because I said, I'm going to do my own coaching practice. I'm going to set up my own coaching practice. But you know what? I was still so stuck in my employee mindset. I mean, it served me well. I was happy being an employee, but now I had consciously decided to be somebody different. And I couldn't be a coach with that mindset. So while I wanted to move forward and build a different life consciously, I still wanted the safety of the life I knew because that was the only life I knew. And so there was a fair bit of rewiring I had to do in my own case before I could actually get unstuck from here and then move on to chase the dream, to build the dream that I wanted to.
So that was a good segue. How did you rewire yourself?
Okay.
Give us a few, because I know there's too many people out there wanting to do something different, but are either scared because I'm scared because I have an income coming in. Now you're telling me to do something unknown.
Yeah.
That's number one.
Yeah.
And too scared is, what am I going to do? How am I going to do
Yes.
it? So
Yes.
give us a few points that you went through. Maybe it's going to help people.
Okay. So I actually followed a process. I didn't know that it was a process then, but I went through a journey and I have distilled that experience into a process that I now help my clients with. So what really happened was the step one was clarity. Because if you don't know where you are going or where you want to go, or what is it exactly you want to do, you will just be anywhere and all over the place. You just won't get there. So the first step was clarity, understanding what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it, why was it important for me. And you are so correct about the fears, and I'll talk to you a bit more about the fears, because eventually at the end of the day, it is our fears that either that just make us get in our own way. So first step was clarity, understanding what is it that I wanted. The second was I thought that I could look at two things. I could either work from my strengths. All of us are naturally good at something, few things. Or I could say, I'm going to work on my areas for improvement and try and be better. And I said, you know what? Let's not do that. I'm going to shine from where I'm strong. I'm going to shine my light bright. And so it became a case of harnessing my strengths and not fixing my weaknesses, because I know that I am not good at certain things, but I'm brilliant at few others. And it did take a while, and I did have help through coaching and mentoring. So the second step was working on my strengths. The third was working on my fears, because fear keeps us safe.
Yes.
That's the power of fear. We want to change, we may want to change, but we would always have this resistance because we don't know what next.
Yes, you're
And
right.
so, yeah. And so I had to let go of the safety, the life that I knew, because what was really happening was I wanted to move the side, I wanted to move forward, but I was holding on to this side. And I remember saying this to one of my mentors in one of the sessions. It was a one-on-one session. And and she was saying, what's really stopping you? What's getting in the way? She wanted to understand. And I said, you know what I really want? What's really happening to me is that I see myself sitting on a small boat, a canoe kind of a boat, a canoe. And my boat is on the water. I have a distant island in sight where I want to get to. I don't have specifics. I don't have a GPS to get me there. Don't have a compass. But I have an idea that there is a beautiful island ahead and I want to get there. I exactly don't know how I'll get there, but I feel unsafe because I'm going to, my boat is little, I'm going to wobble, I've never done this, I'm not a sailor, these are unknown waters, these are choppy waters, and therefore I just want to hold on to the shore that I am familiar with. And my problem is I want to propel forward, but I want to keep holding on to the life I know. And that is causing so much resistance. It's stressing me out because I have a dream, but I can't just let go of this life because this is what I know and I'm used to a particular salary coming in every month and I love that. And so I said, I've got to make a choice. And one day I just took a leap of faith and let go. And that was the day when I began moving forward. So the third step was working on my fears. All my worthiness issues, every single instance of I am not good enough, I don't know enough, I'm not doing enough, I'm not working hard enough, all these worthiness issues, every kind of fear. Is it going to work out? What's the kind of competition? I mean, all the stories that I was making in my own head. So fear management. The next step was learning how to manage my state of being, physically, emotionally, psychologically. And that was really important because when things are going great, you can be all pumped up and you move ahead. But when there's a bump in the road, then it is very easy to lose that momentum and that confidence. And therefore, when things aren't really going great, it is important to understand how to pick yourself back up, have that resilience, persevere, and come back. So that was my fourth step, learning how to manage my state. And the fifth one was actually working on my whole story. After I did these 4 steps, after I worked on myself, then it was time to share my real story, my actual story as a coach, because after doing this work, I was ready to share my story.
So you went from a canoe into a yacht.
Well, it's not so much about the size of the boat. I would say I use the word canoe because it's not a massive vessel. And that's how I felt. I chose the term canoe because I have never been on a canoe. So it looked like an unfamiliar vehicle for me.
Well,
it looked like an unfamiliar vessel.
If you come to United States, I'll take you canoeing. How's that?
Brilliant. Yeah, I would love that.
Okay. So yeah, it is a fear. I know what I'm saying is you jumped through the fears.
Yes.
You got clarity. You took care of your strengths, because that's what you have to do is, yes. I've got to get clear. I mean, I have a compass right here, and I talk about my compass. The first thing I do with my clients is that let's get clear.
Yeah. Yes.
And we have a lot of things in our head.
Yeah.
You know, I used to be an inventory management coach, and I used to go into pharmacies, and we used to look at what they purchased and how they and what was used, and figure out the tally of things that were not used and things that they threw away.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what we have in our homes if we start taking inventory. But it's called decluttering. But the thing is, we have to know what is important to us, keep it, and the rest let it go. You have to.
Exactly.
And so that clarity part is the most important. And I love that, because I teach the same thing. That's the first step.
Yes.
You talk about a lot of things that other coaches have spoken about also, because you are right. Even though you know your strengths, you can write a list of everything that you are strong about, and you know your skills and everything else. It's that fear. It's letting go of that little dinghy or that canoe. Let it go so you can go into the choppy waters. And when I say you moved into the yacht, is I talk about navigating to your yacht. It's all about the sea. I've always loved the sea.
Yeah.
And, you know, instead of having a roadmap, I have a compass. And the thing is, I don't know how to sail, but this is how I do this. But, you know, if you don't take, you have a paddle. Sometimes the waters then, in a canoe, the waters then dictate where you're going to go because of the currents. That's not. But if you now graduate into a canoe or a bigger boat that has a wheel, you can now drive your destiny. So that's why I said is you went from a dinghy to a yacht, because now you are controlling that destiny and you're moving towards that island that you mentioned. Love this.
Yeah. Although I would say it's so interesting that you talked about how waters actually would direct where you are going in the beginning, because that's exactly what it can feel like. You start doing something on your own. You start chasing a dream. You start building a dream, which pushes you completely out of your comfort zone. And it is so important to actually not just try and control everything, but actually flow with what is happening. And I took a while to get a hang of that, because when we are in control, we know what's happening and it is safe. It works for us. But then that also limits us. That also limits us, because we are controlling and we are defining how things will work or not. But when we just let go, we are open to possibilities.
And I think that this is a part of us being women, because we are so control of everything. We are the nucleus of everything that we do. We are right there in the middle, and we have to be in control. Otherwise, nothing will work. You know, like sometimes if you don't walk into the kitchen and the dirty dishes are made up, people ate the food and didn't put it in the refrigerator. So it's there. But once you're in control, then everything is back
Yeah.
to normal.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
and as women, I think this is more so with women because we want to be in control. And you're right, sometimes you just have to let it go.
Yeah.
And as parents also, right? Just let it go, let them do their thing. But that's another conversation.
Yes. Yes.
So, um, who do you speak to? How do people find you? Give us that information.
Okay, so I work with primarily three kinds of people, although I recognize that storytelling is a skill which is applicable to everyone. But I specifically work with three kinds of people. The first is fellow coaches, because everybody needs to get their story out so that they can share their genius in front of their tribe, build that tribe. So coaches is one. I work with trainers, people who are in training delivery roles. I also work with consultants. Now, these consultants may be people who are working for themselves, or they may be actually working as employees for corporate organizations, but they are into providing consulting services, and they're typically doing it for clients. So there's a lot of client management and client relationship bit that comes into it. And that is where to communicate and to make that connection with their clients and to offer their expertise, storytelling comes in really, really handy.
Thank you. So I had a question. So you said you work with coaches, right?
Yeah.
Why is storytelling an awesome piece for coaches? Because they're just coaching people.
Yeah. Storytelling is awesome for coaches because it helps us connect. That is how our human brains are wired. So it is like this. I can be, let's say, a weight loss coach, and I can throw data and facts and figures, the latest research, that is only going to get me only a certain level of engagement. Because you know what? It gets exhausting.
Thank you for listening to
But
this
if I'm
episode
able
of
to present
Munira's Musings
exactly
with
the
your
same
host,
information
Munira
in a
Zahabi.
story,
If you enjoyed
talk
our
about
show, please
transformation
share
of a
and
human
subscribe to
being
this
from where
channel.
they
And
were
for more
to where they
content,
wanted,
please join
and
our
how all
Facebook
this
group called
information came into
Navigate to
picture
Your Niche.
and brought in that transformation. I have a story. I have something to relate to.
So these stories, are you teaching your clients to create their own stories or things that have happened to them?
Okay, both. First step is actually helping people understand that their stories are worth sharing. So that is what I meant when I said we have to work on ourselves first. We have to first go within. I've worked with people who have lived such fantastic lives, in the sense that they have had so many upheavals. They have created businesses, they have lost businesses, they have sprung back, amazing lives. But you know what? They just don't believe that their story is worth sharing.
Sorry about that.
No, we have a little person there.
Okay. Hi. Okay. Okay. I have my granddaughter visiting, and she's 2, so excuse me for that. But
That's okay.
so the thing is, yes, I understand that. So I know that I've heard of the fact that stories tell, right? Because
Yeah.
people get emotionally involved.
Drawn into.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And that's the best part of it, because so, and I've gone to interviews when I used to work in corporate like you, and that's you create, but you take those experiences and then leave them wrapped, because you want to know the problem and how to find the solution. Usually that's the case in an interview. And so I love the fact that you're teaching that. And how do people find you?
People can find me through Facebook. I'm also on LinkedIn. People can write to me directly at Parul Banka at caramelcoaching.com. And so these are the most obvious ways to get in touch with me.
Okay, so Facebook and LinkedIn.
Facebook and LinkedIn.
Do you have an offering? I mean, if people meet you, do you do a 30-minute strategy session with them, or?
I offer people 60 minutes, no obligation, discovery breakthrough call, and I give lots and lots of value to people, which is essentially focused on understanding whether you're a good fit or how best I can just serve them as a coach.
And how long, I know your strategy says, but do you have like a course that you do?
Oh, yes, I do have offerings in the sense that I have online programs that I have built on storytelling, but the personal transformation work that I do that one-on-one. So if, let's say, you want to learn how to craft a story, that can be done in an online format. Because I've shot all those video-based courses and you can work on it yourself. But if you want to go deeper to rewire your story, then it works best when you work with somebody one-on-one. So that's the bit I do one-on-one. That's my private coaching. But otherwise, I do have courses on storytelling.
Well, you're very interesting, because I haven't met another person who's, navigated to their niche like that. But I haven't met another person who is like a storytelling coach, So thank you so much for being on my show, and I appreciate you. Well, folks, there you have it. Now, if you want to talk about it, make a powerful impact with stories. If you want to learn how, reach out to Parul and learn how to navigate to your niche, because that is so important. It's when you have the clarity, that's the first thing, and then figure out your strengths and leave your fears behind.
Yes.
Let go of the rope that's holding your canoe, right?
Exactly. Yeah, because it could be an illusion. It's just keeping us safe, and it's great to be safe because that's the life that has worked for us until now. But if we don't let go of it, we won't move forward. I like to say in my coaching conversations, there's just one way to find out.
Yes.
And that is to move ahead.
Plunge, right? Take the plunge.
Take the plunge.
Let go of that little rope and take the plunge. Let the water take you. Don't try to be in control, but let the waters lead you, because you will find another way to the island, and you'll discover a lot about yourself, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Thank you so much, Parul. I really appreciate it. For those of you who want to find out, Parul Banka is on Facebook. She is also on LinkedIn. I can be reached on Facebook, and I can link you in. And, go tell stories. One thing I'm going to leave you with was, when I heard about what you were doing, the first thing that came to my mind was, you always hear adults telling you, don't tell stories. It's not good to tell stories. But in today's world, the stories sell. You want to emotionally tie your audience, your people, wrapped, because they're now in awe. It's a big thing now, because now with my grandkids here, we go to the library a lot, and they have storytelling sessions. Yeah. And you have to be a good storyteller to capture that attention. And you have these 2-year-olds just sitting there awed. And that's why, when I saw you and I said, let me just connect with you. I want to hear more about this. But thank you again. I appreciate you. And over and out.
Thank you, Munira. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Take care. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Munira's Musings with your host, Munira Zahabi. If you enjoyed our show, please share and subscribe to this channel. And for more content, please join our Facebook group called Navigate to Your Niche.